The morning sun painted golden streaks across San Francisco International Airport's Terminal 3 as Isabella Rodriguez adjusted her navy blue collar in the staff bathroom mirror. Her fingers traced the simple name tag reading Bella, a far cry from the elegant nameplate that usually adorned her executive office on the top floor of Skyline Airways headquarters. At 40, Isabella had achieved what many considered impossible, transforming a struggling regional airline into one of the industry's most innovative players. The bathroom door swung open, and Maria Ortiz, her trusted HR director and one of the few people aware of these quarterly undercover missions, slipped inside. "Everything's set, Isabella. The crew thinks you're a senior flight attendant from our Denver hub, cross-training on international routes." Maria handed her a standard-issue crew badge, complete with a carefully crafted backstory. Isabella tucked a strand of her dark hair behind her ear, studying her reflection. The transformation was remarkable. Gone were the designer suits and the air of corporate authority. Instead, she wore the same uniform as thousands of her employees: comfortable navy shoes, pristine stockings, and the distinctive Skyline Airways uniform that she had helped redesign last year for better comfort and functionality. "Remember," Maria continued, checking her watch, "Flight SK-275 to Singapore is our longest route. 18 hours of service should give you plenty of insights." Her eyes twinkled with amusement. "Though I still think you're crazy for choosing to work a full long-haul flight." Isabella smiled, adjusting her navy scarf with practiced precision. "The best leaders don't just understand their business, they live it. My father taught me that when he ran his small restaurant in Mexico City. He knew every role from dishwasher to chef." She paused, remembering the countless nights she watched him work alongside his employees, learning their challenges firsthand. The pre-flight crew briefing was scheduled in 10 minutes, and Isabella's heart raced with familiar excitement. These undercover missions had become more than just a management technique. They were her connection to the airline's heart and soul. Last quarter's experience as a baggage handler had led to significant improvements in their logistics system. The quarter before that, working at the check-in counter had inspired a complete overhaul of their boarding process. As they walked through the quiet morning corridors, Isabella mentally reviewed her cover story. Bella Martinez, senior flight attendant, 15 years of experience, recently transferred from Denver. She had practiced the backstory until it felt natural, adding small details about a fictional dog named Max and a passion for hiking the Colorado Rockies. "Your crew supervisor today is James Chen," Maria briefed her as they approached the crew room. 23 years of experience, known for running a tight ship. He's been with us since before you became CEO, actually." She handed Isabella a final document, her temporary crew assignment papers. Outside the crew room, they could hear the gentle murmur of voices as the flight team gathered for their briefing. Isabella took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. This was the moment when the CEO of Skyline Airways would truly disappear, replaced by Bella, the flight attendant. "One last thing," Maria whispered, her expression turning serious. "We've got some VIP passengers in first class, tech entrepreneurs returning from a major conference. The kind that loves social media attention." Isabella nodded, her lips curving into a confident smile. "Perfect. Those are often the passengers who give us the most honest feedback, even if they don't realize they're giving it." With a final check of her uniform and a grateful squeeze of Maria's hand, Isabella pushed open the crew room door. The familiar scent of coffee and the quiet professional chatter of a pre-flight briefing welcomed her. As heads turned to acknowledge the new team member, Isabella felt the familiar thrill of these undercover missions, the pure joy of serving others while learning to make her airline better. Little did she know that this particular flight would become much more than just another learning experience. It would transform into a story that would reshape the way people thought about leadership, service, and the true meaning of success in the modern business world. The first-class cabin hummed with pre-flight activity as Isabella arranged champagne flutes at her service station. Through the galley window, she watched as 3 young men approached, their excitement palpable even from a distance. Main Zhang led the group, his designer sneakers and casual tech CEO attire, marking him as someone who'd already made his mark in Silicon Valley despite his youth. "Welcome to Skyline Airways." Isabella greeted them warmly, noting how Ming's eyes lit up at the sight of the champagne. Behind him, his friends, Kevin Chen and Ray Park, were already settling into their pods, pulling out the latest smartphones and tablets with practiced ease. "This is how we celebrate," Ming announced, holding up his phone to capture the moment. "Just closed our Series B funding round. $200 million. He turned to Isabella with the easy confidence of someone used to being in the spotlight. "Any chance we could get that champagne before takeoff? We need the perfect shot for our investors." Isabella smiled, already reaching for the bottle of premium Krug. "Congratulations. I'd be happy to help you capture the moment." She grabbed a small LED light she kept handy for food photography, a trick she'd implemented across the fleet after noticing passengers' social media habits. "The cabin lighting can be tricky for photos. This might help." Ming's eyes widened with appreciation. "Now that's service. Guys, are you seeing this? Skyline Airways thinks of everything." He immediately started a live stream, his followers flooding in to watch. "Quick question. What's the best angle for this shot?" As Isabella positioned the light and suggested frame compositions, she could hear Kevin and Ray adding their commentary to the stream. "Our flight attendant, Bella, is literally saving our content game right now." Ray laughed, adjusting his position to catch the golden hour light streaming through the window. The champagne service turned into an impromptu photo session, with Isabella quietly ensuring every detail was perfect while the entrepreneurs created their content. She noticed Ming's followers growing exponentially. His startup success clearly translated to social media influence. "Bella, you're natural at this," Kevin commented, reviewing the footage. "Most flight attendants get annoyed when we start filming." He paused, checking the viewer comments. "Everyone's asking if you do this full-time. They think you should be a content creator." Isabella suppressed a smile, thinking of her recent Forbes cover shoot. "I just enjoy helping passengers make memories," she replied diplomatically, noting how her response made Ming turn away from his phone with renewed interest. "See, that's exactly what I was telling our investors," he said, slipping into pitch mode. "It's all about authentic customer experiences. Our app helps businesses create these kinds of moments." He pulled up a presentation on his tablet. "We're revolutionizing the way companies interact with their customers through AI-powered authenticity metrics." As the seatbelt sign dinged on, Isabella began her standard safety briefing. The three entrepreneurs continued their live stream, turning even this routine procedure into engaging content. Their followers ate it up, especially when Ming attempted to demonstrate the oxygen mask procedure with exaggerated flair. "Hold on," Ray interrupted, studying his phone. "Our metrics are exploding. We're trending in 3 markets already." He showed his screen to the others. "The hashtag Skyline style is taking off. People love this whole vibe." Isabella moved through her safety checks, listening as the 3 friends excitedly discussed their growing engagement numbers. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and other passengers were starting to take notice. In seat 2D, a distinguished-looking gentleman kept glancing their way, his expression suggesting he might recognize something familiar about Bella. As the aircraft began its taxi, Isabella overheard Ming making plans for the entire flight. "We'll do a full review of every course in the dinner service," he was saying. "Our followers will love it. Bella, you'll help us with the lighting again, right? We might even feature you in our pitch deck, the perfect example of natural customer service." If only they knew, Isabella thought, that their impromptu social media campaign was providing her with priceless insights into modern customer expectations. As the engines roared to life, she couldn't help but wonder how this enthusiastic trio would react when they discovered their friendly flight attendant was actually the architect of the very experience they were so eagerly documenting. 2 hours into the flight, the social media storm surrounding Ming, Kevin, and Ray had evolved into something bigger than anyone expected. Their live stream had caught the attention of several tech influencers, turning their first-class pod into an impromptu broadcasting studio. Isabella watched with fascination as their casual flight documentation transformed into a masterclass in viral content creation. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ming announced to his growing audience, adjusting the LED light Isabella had provided earlier, "welcome to episode 3 of our Living the Startup Life series. Today's special feature, how Skyline Airways is revolutionizing the luxury travel experience." He panned his camera around the cabin, capturing the elegant interior details Isabella had personally overseen during the airline's recent redesign. Kevin, who had been monitoring their analytics on his tablet, suddenly sat up straighter. "Ming, you won't believe this. TechCrunch just picked up our stream. They're doing a feature on how startups are changing business travel culture." He turned to Isabella, who was arranging their appetizer course. "Bella, you've become a minor celebrity. The comments are full of people asking about you." Isabella maintained her professional smile while artfully plating their Korean fusion appetizers, another innovation she introduced last quarter. "That's very kind, but I'm just doing my job," she replied, positioning the dishes to catch the perfect light for their cameras. Ray, the quietest of the trio, had been focused on editing their earlier footage. "Check this out," he called to his friends, turning his laptop screen. "I've cut together a mini documentary about airline service evolution. Bella, would you mind sharing your perspective? How long have you been in the industry?" The question made Isabella pause thoughtfully. While her cover story said 15 years as a flight attendant, she'd actually been in aviation for 20 years, starting as an operations intern during college. "Long enough to see significant changes," she answered diplomatically, garnishing their plates with micro-herbs. Speaking of changes, Ming chimed in, his content creator instincts firing. "Let's talk about what airlines could do better. Our followers are asking for insider insights." He positioned his phone to capture both himself and Isabella in the frame. "Any secret stories you can share? What would you change if you were running things?" The irony of the moment wasn't lost on Isabella. She caught a glimpse of their streaming comments, noticing how viewers were praising the airline's service while speculating about its management. One comment particularly caught her eye. "Whoever runs Skyline Airways must be doing something right." Actually, Isabella responded, choosing her words carefully. "Skyline encourages us to share our ideas for improvement. There's a direct line between crew feedback and implementation." She didn't mention that the direct line was currently serving their champagne. The Livestream's chat exploded with positive comments about corporate culture. Ming, ever the entrepreneur, seized the moment. "This is exactly what we're trying to achieve with our app. Real-time feedback, authentic interactions, genuine engagement." He turned to his friends excitedly. "We need to include this in our next investor pitch." As Isabella moved to check on other passengers, she noticed several of them discreetly watching the ongoing show in first class. The gentleman in 2D, who she now recognized as a prominent venture capitalist, was taking particular interest. She saw him typing something on his phone, probably making the connection between the streaming content and potential investment opportunities. The social media momentum continued to build. Hashtags like #SkylineExperience and #StartupLife were trending in multiple markets. Kevin's phone buzzed continuously with notifications from tech journalists requesting interviews about their viral flight experience. Even their seemingly simple breakfast order had turned into a trending topic about airline cuisine innovation. Ray, still editing their footage, called Isabella back. "We're getting questions about crew training. Would you mind doing a quick segment about service standards?" He hesitated, then added with genuine curiosity, "There's something different about how you work, like you know exactly what high-end travelers expect." Isabella adjusted her name tag, suppressing a smile. If they only knew she had literally written the service standards manual they were praising. "I'd be happy to share what I can," she replied, mentally preparing to discuss the very protocols she had implemented across the airline. As their follower count continued to soar, Isabella realized this flight was providing an unprecedented window into how modern travelers perceived and shared their experiences. Every photo, every comment, Every shared moment was valuable market research, delivered directly to the CEO, though her eager content creators had no idea they were helping shape the future of their favorite airline. Midway through the flight, as the cabin lights dimmed for the Pacific crossing, Isabella's masterful handling of the entrepreneur's increasingly elaborate requests had turned into an unexpected masterclass in luxury service. Ming's live stream had evolved into a full-fledged documentary about premium air travel, with their enthusiastic flight attendant Bella becoming an unexpected star. "Watch this," Ming whispered to his audience, adjusting his camera angle as Isabella approached with a specially crafted dessert presentation. Bella doesn't just serve food, she creates moments. The dessert, a delicate fusion of Eastern and Western flavors, was actually Isabella's own creation, inspired by her recent culinary tour of Singapore. "The chocolate sphere melts when you pour the warm passion fruit sauce," Isabella explained, demonstrating the technique with the precision of someone who had spent hours perfecting it with the airline's culinary team. Inside, you'll find a yuzu cremute with crystallized ginger. Ray, who had been quiet for the past hour editing their footage, suddenly perked up. "This is incredible content. The lighting, the presentation, it's like a high-end restaurant in the sky." He paused, studying Isabella with growing curiosity. "Your knowledge of the menu is extraordinary. Did you train as a chef?" Isabella smiled diplomatically, remembering the weeks she'd spent working with celebrity chefs to develop this menu. "I just love food and learning about different cultures," she replied, carefully sidestepping the question. Kevin, meanwhile, was scrolling through their streaming analytics. "Guys, our engagement metrics are off the charts. We've got CEOs and travel influencers in our audience now." He turned his tablet to show a comment from a well-known tech magazine editor. "This is redefining luxury travel content." The success of their impromptu broadcast had emboldened the trio. Ming, riding high on their viral momentum, decided to push for more exclusive content. "Bella, we should do a behind-the-scenes tour of the galley. Our followers would love to see how everything works." Isabella knew the galley tour would be risky. Several crew members had already given her knowing looks, barely concealing their amusement of the situation. "Perhaps we could focus on the service elements visible from your seats," she suggested smoothly. The mood lighting system, for example, was designed to reduce jet lag. Speaking of design, Ray interjected, pulling up Skyline Airways' latest quarterly report on his laptop. The airline's been making some innovative changes lately. Their CEO, Isabella Rodriguez, right? She's been revolutionizing the industry. He turned the screen toward Isabella, showing her own corporate headshot. "Have you ever met her?" Isabella felt her heart skip a beat but maintained her composed demeanor. "The company encourages all employees to share their ideas," she responded, buying time by adjusting the table settings with practiced ease. Ming, still live streaming, caught the moment. "See, this is what we mean about authentic corporate culture. Even the flight attendants know their CEO's initiatives." He turned to Isabella with renewed interest. "You should come work for our startup. We need people who understand luxury service like you do." The irony of being offered a job by someone who didn't realize she was their host airline CEO made Isabella struggle to suppress a smile. She was saved from responding by a gentle tap on her shoulder. James Chen, the crew supervisor, needed her attention. "Bella," he said, his eyes twinkling with subtle amusement, "could you help me with something in the forward galley? It's about the special meal for 2D." James, one of the few crew members who knew her true identity, was providing a graceful exit. As Isabella excused herself, she heard Kevin reading more comments from their stream. "Everyone wants to know if Skyline's CEO knows about our broadcast. They're saying this could be a case study in modern airline service." Ming laughed, adjusting his camera angle. "Maybe we should tag her in our posts. Isabella Rodriguez might want to hire Bella herself after seeing this." Little did they know, as Isabella disappeared into the galley, that their next interaction with Skyline Airways CEO would come sooner and in a very different way than they expected. Their viral documentation of their flight was about to take an unexpected turn that none of their followers could have predicted. The revelation began with a simple gesture. Jun Park, the renowned travel influencer seated in 2D, had been watching the young entrepreneurs live stream with growing amusement. As a frequent flyer who'd attended numerous airline industry events, he'd immediately recognized Bella, but had played along, curious to see how the situation would unfold. As the flight entered its final hours, Jun noticed Ming's live stream taking a turn toward business advice. "If I could talk to Skyline's CEO," Ming was saying to his audience, "I'd tell her our app could revolutionize their customer feedback system." Right, Bella? Jun decided it was time. Rising from his seat with the elegance of someone used to commanding attention, he approached their section. "Actually," he said, smoothly entering their frame, "why don't you tell her yourself?" The live stream chat exploded with recognition of Jun, but he wasn't finished. "Ms. Rodriguez," he said, turning to Isabella with a respectful bow, "I enjoyed your keynote at the Global Aviation Summit last month. Your insights on integrating passenger feedback into service design were brilliant." Time seemed to freeze in the first-class cabin. Ming's phone wavered in his hand, still live streaming. Kevin's fingers hovered over his keyboard, mid-tweet. Ray slowly closed his laptop, realization dawning on his face. "Thank you, Jun," Isabella replied warmly, finally dropping the act. "I was wondering if you'd say something." She turned to the stunned entrepreneurs, her demeanor shifting subtly from attentive flight attendant to confident CEO. The summit was fascinating, wasn't it? Especially the panel on social media's impact on modern travel expectations. The live stream chat was chaos. Viewers who had been following for hours were posting rapid-fire comments. "Wait till Bubby will shake." "The flight attendant is DHE CEO." Plot twist of the year. Ming's follower count was skyrocketing as the story unfolded in real time. Ming started, then stopped, looking at his phone as if it might explain things. But you've been serving us drinks, and learning invaluable insights about how our next-generation passengers experience our service," Isabella completed his thought. "Your live stream has given me data I couldn't get any other way." She gestured to their various devices. "Though I admit, I didn't expect quite this level of documentation." Kevin found his voice first. The dessert presentation, the lighting suggestions, the service protocols. He was putting it together. "You weren't just trained in them. I designed them," Isabella confirmed, taking a seat across the aisle as Jun discreetly returned to his own spot, his role in the revelation complete. "Every quarter, I work different positions throughout the airline. It keeps me connected to both our passengers and our crew." Ray, who had been quietly processing everything, suddenly laughed. "The way you answered my questions about corporate policies, you were quoting yourself, weren't you?" Isabella smiled. "Guilty as charged, though I have to say, your editing of the footage really highlighted some areas where we could improve our service flow." She pulled out her own phone, displaying their live stream. "Your content creation skills are impressive. The way you've captured the passenger experience, it's exactly the kind of insight we're looking for." Ming had finally found his entrepreneurial spirit again. "So when I was talking about our app's potential for airline feedback," he began hopefully. "I was genuinely interested," Isabella finished, "though perhaps we should discuss it in a more formal setting than a viral live stream." Her eyes twinkled with amusement. "My office has slightly better lighting than the cabin." The tension broke as the three friends laughed, relief mixing with embarrassment and excitement. Their phones continued buzzing with notifications as the story spread across social media platforms. The unexpected encounter between tech entrepreneurs and an undercover CEO was becoming the day's top trending topic. As Isabella stood to resume her duties, she was still technically on shift, after all, she paused. "By the way, that pitch deck you were working on. Add this story to it. It's a perfect example of how authentic experiences can lead to unexpected opportunities." The entrepreneurs watched her walk away, their live stream still running, their story now part of a larger narrative about modern leadership, authenticity, and the changing face of corporate culture. In the background, Jun Park was already drafting what would become a viral LinkedIn post about the future of business leadership. As the aircraft began its descent into Singapore, Isabella turned what could have been an awkward situation into a masterclass in modern leadership. The first-class cabin had become an impromptu business incubator, with phones and tablets temporarily set aside for genuine conversation. The thing about feedback, Isabella said, perching on the ottoman of Ming's suite during her break, is that it's most valuable when people don't know they're giving it. She gestured to their earlier footage. Your live stream captured exactly how our target demographic experiences luxury travel. No focus group could have provided that level of authenticity. Ming, who had recovered his composure and entrepreneurial spirit, leaned forward eagerly. That's exactly what our app is designed to do. We call it natural engagement metrics. It analyzes social media content to extract genuine customer experiences. He paused, then added with a slight blush, though I guess you've just demonstrated that concept in person. Kevin, who had been reviewing their analytics, whistled softly. The reveal has doubled our follower count. Every tech and business publication is trying to contact us. He turned his tablet toward Isabella. And Skyline Airways stock is up 3% just from the social media buzz. Isabella smiled, remembering similar conversations in formal boardrooms. That's because this story resonates with something fundamental about modern business, the importance of staying connected to your customers' real experiences. She accepted a cup of green tea from James, the cruise supervisor, who was clearly enjoying the situation. But how do you balance it? Ray asked, his quiet thoughtfulness adding depth to the discussion. Being a CEO and still maintaining this level of ground-level engagement. He gestured to her flight attendant uniform, which she still wore as she continued to serve other passengers between their conversations. Leadership isn't about sitting in an office making decisions, Isabella replied, adjusting her serving cart. It's about understanding every aspect of your business from the ground up. She demonstrated by elegantly preparing another passenger's drink order while continuing the conversation. Every role in this airline contributes to our success. How can I make informed decisions if I don't understand them all? The entrepreneurs exchanged glances, their own leadership philosophy visibly shifting. Ming's lit stream had continued, but its tone had evolved from entertainment to education. Their followers were now witnessing a rare, candid discussion about authentic leadership in the modern age. We'd love to show you our complete platform, Kevin ventured, pulling up their presentation. Maybe we could schedule a proper meeting once we're in Singapore. He caught himself and added with a grin, unless you prefer we submit through official channels. Isabella reached into her crew vest and pulled out, not another serving napkin, but her CEO business card. I think we're well past official channels, she laughed, handing it to them. My team will contact you tomorrow. I'm genuinely interested in how your technology could help us better understand our passengers' experiences. Speaking of experiences, Ming said, his content creator instincts kicking in. Would you consider doing a joint video about this? It could help change people's perceptions about corporate leadership. His eyes lit up with possibilities. Imagine. The CEO who served me drinks. It could inspire other executives to get out of their comfort zones. Isabella considered this as she prepared for the final service before landing. On one condition, she said, her eyes twinkling. We film it during your return flight, when I'll be working in economy class. The surprised looks on their faces made her laugh. Different sections of the plane mean different passenger needs and expectations, she explained. Today I learned about our first-class experience. Next time, I need to understand another perspective. As the seatbelt signs chimed on for descent, Isabella excused herself to perform her final duties. Behind her, she could hear the three friends excitedly planning future content, their entrepreneurial spirits now focused on something bigger than just their own success. Ms. Rodriguez. Ray called after her softly. When she turned, he smiled. Thank you for not making us feel foolish about, not recognizing you. Isabella winked. Thank you for giving me the best market research I've had all year. Now, Please ensure your seats are in the upright position. I still have a job to do. The story exploded across social media platforms before the plane even touched down in Singapore. Jun Park's LinkedIn post had already garnered over 100,000 impressions, with CEOs and business leaders worldwide sharing their thoughts on hands-on leadership. Meanwhile, Ming's live stream replay was being picked up by major news networks, turning their flight into a global conversation about modern corporate culture. "Look at this," Kevin said during their taxi to the gate, showing his tablet to his friends and Isabella. Harvard Business Review wants to feature the story. They're calling it the new face of corporate leadership, when CEOs get their hands dirty. He scrolled through his emails, and 3 venture capital firms have reached out about our app. Isabella, still performing her landing duties with practiced efficiency, smiled as she overheard snippets of conversation throughout the cabin. Other passengers were sharing their own recordings of the revelation moment, adding different perspectives to the viral story. The gentleman in 3F was already on the phone with his investment team, discussing how this could affect Skyline Airways' market position. "Ms. Rodriguez," Ray called softly as she passed by, "Bloomberg is asking if you consider a joint interview with us about innovative leadership and tech collaboration." He showed her his phone, displaying multiple interview requests. "They're fascinated by how our app accidentally documented your undercover boss experience." Ming, who had finally ended his marathon livestream, was scrolling through Twitter with amazement. The hashtag CEO in disguise is trending globally. People are sharing stories about times they didn't recognize famous business leaders. He grinned, though nobody's story quite matches ours. As the aircraft docked at the gate, Isabella's own phone buzzed with messages from her corporate communications team. They were both thrilled and amused by the organic publicity, already crafting a strategy to leverage this moment for the airline's brand story. Her PR director had texted, "Only you could turn an undercover mission into a viral marketing campaign." "Your story is resonating because it's authentic," Jun Park commented, approaching their section one last time. His own social media metrics were soaring from his posts about the flight. "In an age of carefully curated corporate images, you've shown what genuine leadership looks like." Isabella checked her crew tablet, ensuring all her official duties were completed before engaging in the conversation. "The real story here," she said, turning to the entrepreneurs, "is how next-generation business leaders like you are changing the way we think about customer experience." She gestured to their devices. "Your natural instinct to document and share created a unique window into our service." The business media was already spinning multiple angles. TechCrunch had published a quick analysis piece, "When Startup Meets Legacy: How a Viral Flight Changed Corporate Culture." Forbes was preparing a cover story about the intersection of social media, leadership, and customer experience. Even morning shows were requesting interviews with both Isabella and the 3 friends. "We've got an invitation to speak at the Asian Leadership Conference next month," Kevin announced, reading another email. "They want us to discuss how technology can bridge the gap between executives and customers." He looked up at Isabella hopefully. "Would you consider joining us on stage?" Before she could respond, Ray's phone lit up with a notification. "You won't believe this," he said, eyes widening. "Our app's waitlist has grown by 10,000 since the story broke. Major airlines and luxury brands are requesting demos." Ming, ever the quick thinker, was already sketching out ideas on his tablet. "What if we developed a specific version for executive feedback? We could call it Ground Level, helping leaders stay connected to their frontline operations." His eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. The Skyline Airways story could be our perfect case study. As passengers began to deplane, Isabella noticed how many were snapping photos, hoping to capture their own piece of the viral moment. The story had struck a chord that went beyond mere corporate publicity. It represented a new vision of leadership for the digital age. "You know the best part is?" Jun Park mused, gathering his belongings. "This story isn't just going viral, it's changing how people think about corporate leadership. Sometimes the best way to lead is to serve." 3 months after the viral flight, Isabella stood in Skyline Airways' newly redesigned Innovation Center, watching as Ming, Kevin, and Ray demonstrated their integrated feedback system to a room full of airline executives. The ground-level platform, born from their unexpected encounter, had evolved into something far more significant than anyone had anticipated. "The magic happens here," Ming explained, displaying a dashboard of real-time passenger sentiment analysis. "Using natural language processing, we can identify genuine moments of customer delight or concern across all cabin classes." He nodded toward Isabella, who was intentionally dressed in a flight attendant uniform despite her CEO status. "As Ms. Rodriguez taught us, authentic feedback comes when people don't feel observed." The presentation screen showed a live feed of social media posts about Skyline Airways, each automatically categorized and analyzed. Kevin stepped forward to highlight a particular feature. "We call this the Connected Leadership module. It allows executives to receive direct, unfiltered insights from both passengers and crew members, helping them stay connected to the day-to-day reality of their operations." Isabella smiled, remembering how this partnership had transformed both companies. Skyline's stock had risen 15% since implementing the platform, while the entrepreneur's startup had secured Series C funding at a valuation that exceeded their wildest dreams. More importantly, their story had sparked a movement in corporate culture. "Last month," Ray added, pulling up a new slide, "over 50 CEOs from Fortune 500 companies participated in our Walk in Their Shoes initiative." The screen showed various corporate leaders working incognito in frontline positions. The program, inspired by Ms. Rodriguez's quarterly undercover missions, is changing how leadership connects with customers and employees. After the presentation, as the executives filed out discussing implementation plans, Isabella gathered with the three friends in her office, the same one they'd been so nervous to enter 3 months ago. Now it felt like a comfortable meeting spot for old friends. "Remember when you offered me a job?" She teased Ming, serving them coffee herself, a habit she'd maintained despite her executive position. "I think that worked out slightly differently than planned." "Slightly?" Kevin laughed, accepting the coffee. "We went from filming a flight attendant for social media content to partnering with one of the most innovative airlines in the industry. I'd say that's more than slightly different." Ray, still the thoughtful observer of the group, was looking at their latest user statistics. "The most interesting trend is how this is affecting corporate culture beyond airlines. Hotels, restaurants, retail chains, they're all implementing similar leadership connection programs." Isabella nodded, remembering her recent keynote at the Global Leadership Summit. "It's about breaking down the barriers between corporate offices and frontline operations. Every CEO should understand their business from the ground up." She adjusted her flight attendant pin, a reminder of the lessons learned from that fateful flight. Ming's phone buzzed with another notification. "Speaking of breaking barriers," he grinned, "our documentary just got picked up by Netflix. The Flight That Changed Business. They love the authentic angle. As long as they include the part where you try to recruit your own CEO," Kevin teased, making everyone laugh. Isabella checked her watch. She had a flight to catch, not as CEO today, but as a check-in agent at Terminal 3. "The best stories are the ones we don't see coming," she said, gathering her things. "Just like the best feedback comes when we're not looking for it." As they walked together toward the elevators, Ray noticed something new on Isabella's office wall, a framed screenshot of Ming's original livestream, showing all of them in the first-class cabin, none the wiser about how that moment would change their lives. "Next quarter's undercover mission?" Ming asked, noticing Isabella's practical shoes. "Check-in counter," she confirmed. "There's always more to learn. Maybe I'll end up in another viral video." They parted ways in the lobby, but not before setting their weekly innovation meeting. The viral flight had ended, but its impact continued to ripple through the business world, reminding leaders everywhere that sometimes the best view from the top comes from spending time at the bottom. As Isabella headed to her next undercover assignment, she smiled, knowing that somewhere on today's flights, another story was waiting to unfold. After all, in both aviation and leadership, the The journey was often more important than the destination.